The moment itself is internal. No law is passed. No movement begins. No announcement reframes society. Need simply disappears. Not attraction, not affection, not curiosity, dependence. Across the world, something subtle but profound shifts in the psychology of men and women. Emotional survival no longer requires the other. Loneliness does not sharpen into desperation. Desire no longer carries urgency. Partnership becomes optional in a way it never truly was before. First, no one notices. People still date, still flirt, still argue, still fall into beds and out of love. The rituals remain intact. The words are the same, the gestures familiar, but underneath, the tension is gone. The quiet pressure that once drove compromise, pursuit, forgiveness, endurance vanishes. The illusion holds because relationships have always pretended to be choices. In truth, they were negotiations with fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of aging without witness. Fear of vulnerability without protection. Fear of life without anchor. Now that fear is absent, and absence changes behavior faster than ideology ever could. The first cracks appear in conflict. Arguments end sooner, not because understanding improves, but because disengagement is easy. People walk away without the familiar ache. Breakups feel cleaner, quieter, oddly unemotional. "I don't need this" stops being a threat. It becomes a fact. Dating culture shifts within weeks. Ghosting increases not from cruelty but indifference. No one feels compelled to explain themselves. Closure becomes unnecessary when separation does not hurt the same way. People stop fighting for connection, not because they found peace, because effort no longer feels essential. Marriage rates dip subtly at first, then sharply. Long-term commitments feel excessive when companionship no longer guarantees meaning or safety. Love remains pleasant but not stabilizing. Families notice before governments do. Parents watch their children form looser bonds. Relationships are shorter, lighter, easier to exit. Drama declines. So does depth. The old script of working through problems loses force. Why struggle when solitude is not painful? Workplaces change tone. Romantic tension fades. Office relationships become rarer, not due to rules but lack of urgency. Sexual dynamics flatten. Power struggles based on attraction lose relevance. Some celebrate this as progress. Less toxicity, less dependency, less manipulation. They are not wrong, but they are not seeing the full picture yet. Sex changes meaning. It becomes recreational rather than connective. Intimacy loses its adhesive quality. Bodies meet, separate, and continue without residue. Pleasure exists without consequence. Attachment becomes a choice rather than a byproduct. This feels freeing. For a while, therapists notice something strange. Patients are calmer, less anxious, less jealous, but also less motivated to invest emotionally. Vulnerability feels unnecessary when self-sufficiency satisfies basic emotional needs. People stop asking, "Do you love me?" They ask, "Do I enjoy this?" Enjoyment is easier to replace. Men experience the shift differently than women, but neither escapes it. Men lose the quiet pressure to prove usefulness, strength, stability. Some feel relief, others feel hollow. Without being needed, identity fragments. Value becomes harder to measure. Women lose the need for validation, protection, provision. Autonomy deepens. Independence stabilizes. But with it comes an unexpected flattening of desire. Wanting someone who is not necessary feels indulgent. Risky, optional. Conflict avoidance becomes the norm. Why negotiate roles when no one needs the outcome? Why compromise when independence is complete? Cooperation declines not from hostility, but from sufficiency. Couples still exist, but they feel lighter, less anchored. The first societal consequence emerges quietly. Birth rates fall. Not dramatically, decisively. Children were once the result of bonds reinforced by mutual reliance. Now, reproduction feels like an intentional project rather than a natural extension of partnership. Fewer people opt in. Governments respond with incentives. They fail. You cannot subsidize necessity when necessity is gone. Media struggles to adapt. Romantic narratives feel outdated. Stories about finding your other half feel dishonest in a world where no one feels halved. Love stories lose urgency. Tragedy loses teeth. Audiences disengage. Not because romance is offensive, because it feels unnecessary. Social networks fill the gap. Connection without dependence. Validation without vulnerability. Presence without commitment. People curate intimacy the way they curate content. Relationships become modular, editable, disposable. The deepest shift is invisible. People stop growing through each other. Conflict once forced introspection. Loss once sharpened empathy. Compromise once reshaped identity. Without need, friction fades, and so does transformation. People become emotionally stable and static. By the time sociologists realize what is happening, the pattern is clear. A society without mutual emotional dependence is calmer, more polite, more independent, and less bonded. Men and women coexist peacefully, but coexistence is not connection. The old chaos of relationships, jealousy, sacrifice, longing, reconciliation was painful, but it was generative, created meaning through struggle. Now meaning feels self-contained, efficient, lonely in a way no one wants to name. The chapter ends not with conflict, but with silence. A world where men and women no longer need each other does not erupt. It cools. And as the temperature drops, a realization begins to form. Slowly, reluctantly, without outrage. Need was not weakness. It was glue. It forced people to stay, to fight, to change, to grow against resistance. Without it, relationships survive. But they no longer matter the same way. This was not liberation. It was a quiet severing, a fundamental loss. The loss of the tension that once made love dangerous, difficult, and transformative. And this is only the beginning of what happens when men and women stop needing each other at all. Time passes and society does not collapse. It stabilizes. That stability is unsettling. Years into the shift, the absence of need has rewired daily life so thoroughly that no one remembers how urgency once felt. Relationships still exist, but they no longer shape the architecture of lives. They decorate it. People build their futures alone. Not defensively, not bitterly, intentionally. Homes are designed for one. Careers are planned without compromise. Mobility increases. People move cities, countries, continents without considering how it will affect a partner. Attachment no longer anchors geography. This creates freedom and erosion. Communities thin out. Neighborhoods rotate residents constantly. Friendships become fluid. People are polite, kind, cooperative, but rarely permanent.
Permanence fit l'une nécessaire.
Family structures change quietly. Marriage becomes rare and ceremonial, not foundational. Long-term partnerships exist, but they resemble alliances of preference rather than bonds of survival. Breakups carry no social stigma. Divorce becomes administrative, almost invisible. Children grow up in fragmented constellations of adults. Not broken homes, temporary ones. They are well cared for, provided for, emotionally supported. But they sense something missing long before they can name it. Not love, interdependence. They watch adults leave easily. They learn early that relationships are conditional and reversible. This makes them adaptable and guarded. Education adapts. Schools emphasize self-regulation, independence, emotional self-sufficiency. Group work exists, but deep reliance is discouraged. Students are taught collaboration without attachment, teamwork without bonding. Conflict resolution becomes procedural. No raised voices. No dramatic reconciliations. No stacks. Everyone learns how to disengage gracefully. Mental health statistics show improvement in some areas. Less codependency, less obsessive attachment, less fear of abandonment. But new issues emerge. Pervasive flatness. People report contentment without joy, stability without passion. Therapists struggle to treat something that is not distressing enough to diagnose but persistent enough to hollow lives from the inside. Desire changes form. Without need, attraction loses gravity. People feel drawn to others, but the pull is weak, easily overridden by convenience. Romance becomes a hobby rather than a force. Sex continues, but it rarely transforms. Intimacy no longer reorganizes priorities. It fits between plans instead of rewriting them. Emotional risk declines. So does emotional reward. The phrase, "I can't live without you," disappears. Not because it is unhealthy, because it is untrue. Men experience a delayed reckoning. Without being needed, many struggle to locate purpose. Roles that once felt meaningful, provider, protector, partner, lose urgency. Some reinvent themselves through craft, mentorship, creation. Others drift, efficient but unanchored. Women experience a different tension. Autonomy is complete. Safety is internal. Validation is optional. But desire for connection becomes paradoxical. Wanting someone when you do not need them feels irrational, almost irresponsible. Many choose not to want at all. Power dynamics flatten. This removes exploitation. It also removes polarity. Without polarity, attraction softens. Relationships lose intensity. Love becomes agreeable rather than consuming. Society grows calmer. Violence declines. Domestic conflict drops sharply. Obsessive jealousy becomes rare. Crimes of passion vanish almost entirely. These are measurable improvements, and yet something else rises. A quiet despair that has no antagonist. People do not feel lonely. They feel replaceable. Because when no one needs anyone, no one is irreplaceable. This realization does not hurt acutely. It dulls. Art reflects the shift. Romantic tragedy disappears. Stories focus on self-actualization, personal journeys, solitary triumphs. Love interests exist, but they are optional subplots. Audiences applaud the maturity. They do not remember why stories once burned. Religion adapts again. Some traditions emphasize self-sufficiency as spiritual evolution. Others mourn the loss of sacred union, of the idea that humans complete each other in imperfect, necessary ways. New philosophies emerge. They teach that need was an evolutionary crutch, that humanity has outgrown emotional dependency the way it outgrew superstition, that autonomy is the highest form of freedom. These ideas gain traction. They sound healthy. Governments notice demographic consequences too late. Birth rates continue to fall despite incentives. Parenthood requires coordination, sacrifice, long-term planning, things that feel unnatural in a world optimized for independence. Raising children without deep relational glue proves exhausting. Population decline accelerates. Not catastrophically, predictably. Immigration slows the process, but cultural inertia persists. A society built around individual completeness struggles to reproduce itself. The deepest change is existential. People no longer expect others to save them. This is strength. They also stop saving each other reflexively. This is loss. In crises, responses are organized but impersonal. Aid arrives. Support systems activate. But the instinctive rush to sacrifice for loved ones weakens when love itself is no longer bound to survival. Heroism declines. Not because people are selfish, because no one feels necessary. Looking back, historians struggle to name what was lost. There was no collapse. No oppression, no moral failure. In many ways, society became fairer, safer, more rational. But something ancient vanished quietly. The experience of being needed by another human being. Not wanted, not enjoyed, needed. That need once forced people to confront their flaws, endure discomfort, and grow in directions they would never choose alone. Created friction, conflict, transformation. Without it, people become complete earlier and stop changing. The final realization emerges slowly, without protest. A world where men and women do not need each other is peaceful, efficient, stable, and existentially thin. Love survives, but it no longer wounds, saves, or remakes. It accompanies. This was not the end of relationships. It was the end of the risk that once made them matter. A fundamental loss. The loss of the force that pulled people out of themselves and into something larger, messier, and more human. And once that force disappears, society does not fall apart. It simply stops deepening, forever balanced, forever safe, and forever a little unfinished.